Get all set up. Feels really good to be back on Bright Minded. I'm gonna let everyone join. Awesome. Okay, everybody, welcome back to Bright Minded with DJ Email, live with Miley. I spent the last week applying some of the advice and the pointers that I got from the past guests, like Chef Max's methods, how to waste less in the kitchen, thinking about Zion and his motto, no excuses, on days that I wanted to bail on my planks and push-ups and crunches. I thought about Alicia Keys and Lily Reinhart and how they've been getting creative at this time. So I got out my journal and started writing, which felt really, really good. I attempted Jeremy Scott's Repurpose Fashion Project, which turns out is a great way to make DIY face masks. That's super important for keeping us all safe and healthy and protected, keeping ourselves safe, keeping others safe. So it was really cool to actually be able to take his idea and kind of reinvent it for the current times that we're in. So I made some DIY face masks. It's really, really important. So you know that I like to start the show with some good news. It seems that it gets drowned out in all the noise. And so I like to have a moment where the good news can really take the stage for a moment. So starting with, countries around the world are starting to see the curve flatten. This means that cases are either becoming stable or declining, and some countries in Asia and Europe are starting to lift restrictions on their lockdowns. But while this is good news, we still have a long way to go. Any lifting of restrictions is happening cautiously and slowly, and here in the US, we're still seeing thousands of lives lost every day. And in LA specifically, Mayor Garcetti, who you know I love so much, has already extended shelter-at-home order until May 15th. The curve is flattening, which is what we want, and that means we all need to keep doing our part with physical distancing and staying at home if we can, to make sure that that curve continues to go down. And since we're still actively fighting the spread of coronavirus, oh, one of my dogs knows how to open the door. Hold on. Come here, buddy. Yes? He knocks on the door. Come here, Bo. Actually, it'd be a good update to show everyone how much you've grown. Come here. Come here. Oh, see? Much harder to pick up. This is Bo, short for Rainbow. You all remember him from a week ago. He is getting much bigger. Baby Bo is not that baby anymore. He's still my baby. Okay, so since we're still actively fighting the spread of coronavirus, this week I want to focus on learning from people on the front lines. In medicine, working in communities dealing with economic loss and food insecurity, working with at-risk populations, and politics and more. So Bright-Minded's guests this week are people who have been working hard to serve others way before this pandemic, and who will continue to do so even after the pandemic when it ends. But right now they're going even beyond, giving all their help to help meet the needs of our community, save lives, and to keep us all safe and healthy. So this week is going to be more of a Q&A type style, because I really just want to listen and learn from all of these experts and community leaders. So I have a few questions for each person. I'm really excited for all of us to get to know them better and hear firsthand about their experiences. So first, my first guest is Oscar Maitas, who's a doctor on COVID-19 unit in New Orleans. So Dr. Oscar Maitas, who's working with Ochsner Health, who's Louisiana's largest nonprofit academic healthcare system. Dr. Maitas has practiced medicine since 2009, and his expertise includes internal medicine, heart failure, and clinical science. So Dr. Oscar, because I gotta call him that because we're casual now, you know, we're homies. Dr. Oscar received his undergraduate and medical degrees in Venezuela and completed his internship and residency at Cook County Hospital in Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Oscar volunteered to work on one of the COVID-19 only floors at his hospital in New Orleans. And so I'm really honored to have him on the show because he is truly a healthcare hero. So let's connect Dr. Oscar. Okay.
Hi, Miley.
Hi, it says waiting for connection. I'll wait till I can see you.
All right, alrighty.
It's not my show without a few technical difficulties. Hold on one second. I'm going to call you right back.
Hello.
Hello. I still can't see you. Can you see me?
I can see you perfectly.
Okay, let me make sure everyone else can see you also. I'm going to check really quick. Because I'm all good. I can do the same. It's like we're chatting on the phone. But I'm happy you can see. I was just showing my puppy. This is Bo, who I adopted. I rescued him last week on the show, and he has grown so much in a week. It's crazy because doing the show over the last few weeks, I've really been able to kind of like document him, and he's just getting into his terrible twos right now. So you may see him chewing on my hand and my clothes, and you know, as you would on a talk show with the host, being used as a chew toy by her puppy.
Hi, people. I think your audience is able to see me. They're texting there actively that they can see me.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, so I wanted. Can you hear me now? Damn. Okay, I'm gonna end and start over. Bo? Hi, buddy. Hi, Bo. Hi, Bo. Okay. Now I can see you.
Yes.
Yes, I want to thank you so much for being on Right Minded. You're my first guest for the Hero Week, and it's just so fitting. I just want to thank you so much for all of your hard work, and thank you for taking the time to be here.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for your introduction, and thanks for having me in your show. I think you're doing an amazing effort here and trying to help the community and seed some awareness to everybody. I think, like you've mentioned, it's a group effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's really you work just so hard, you know, you hear my puppy. Hi, you work so hard all the time, not just in this pandemic, but just year round, and dedicating yourself to saving lives is just incredible. And if I could use this platform to kind of highlight, oh, my dog is huge. Highlight, you know, people doing this incredible work. You know, I actually spent a lot of time in New Orleans because I filmed a movie So Undercover there for a couple of months, and I just made so many amazing memories. I ate so much food, so much good food. Every time I went anywhere, someone would offer me like a home cooked meal. So people were bringing like amazing food to set. I met so many local artists and musicians. I really dove into that music scene because it's just so inspiring. I'm from Nashville, so you know, music is like the heart of New Orleans and of Nashville. There's just a lot of vibrance, so it's really devastating to see that New Orleans has been particularly hit really hard. It just breaks my heart because got such a personal connection with NOLA.
Yes, and Miley, that's the culture of NOLA. People here are very warm, and they invite you to their homes really quickly, and they greet you with food and with their you know, the warmth of their home. And it is a vibrant city with a lot of music, and this has been affecting the whole population. I mean, this is a city that strives on the service industry, on the nightlife, on the music industry, on street vendors, on people that are just out there serving the tourists. And all of a sudden we have this shocking situation, and it seems to have paralyzed a little bit of that beautiful culture. But you see in the people, you can still see the energy in them trying to overcome this and just trying to get things better. When I told them that you were hosting this interview, they were extremely excited. I think the people of NOLA love you very much, and right back.
I love them very much. I've had a lot of times, a lot of karaoke nights. I believe there are some photos that I wish didn't exist of me walking up and down, in and out of some of the karaoke places. It's never really fair doing karaoke with me because I just hog the mic the whole time, and I turn it from like karaoke night to Miley concert night. But I have some great t-shirts, and I went to, got a lot of handmade and art that I love, that I still cherish. What does your kind of unit look like right now? What are you mostly seeing in your unit?
First, I have to tell you that the whole hospital has transformed into a COVID unit, basically. We have strictly been managing the sickest of the COVID patients. So in that, having said that, the hospital kind of changed the appearance, and it's adapted to treat these critical care patients that need ventilation. So in an attempt of doing that and provide the best care for patients and minimize cross contamination, minimize exposure to us, the providers, we have to kind of transform the appearance of the inside as well. Not only mechanically and logistically with hardware and devices, but also, we walk through the hallways, and this is actually a pretty refreshing time because we're using masks 12 hours a day. Just starting off there, we're using gowns and gloves to walk from one unit to the other. And when you're walking in the units, you're seeing every single patient. Majority of these COVID patients are intubated. We've developed criteria that if you need to be in the hospital, it's because you're very sick, right? Otherwise, we send you home, and we want you to stay home and quarantine yourself. So we want people to avoid getting to this point of needing to be hospitalized, because once you're here, you're not seeing any more family visitors anymore. We've restricted that. So patients are alone in their room, and all they have is us. And all we it was pretty worrisome 2 weeks ago when this started in the front end, when all we were getting was the patient load that were getting admitted to these, and not knowing how long they were going to need support. And finally, as they improved, and by getting the help they needed, getting patients discharged out of these units has really helped the emotional component of us as providers. So basically what I'm trying to describe is, initially there was a lot of uncertainty, a lot of tension and stress. So the hospital also created spaces for decompression. We rescued areas that were usually for patient visitation, and our meditation centers or yoga spots and food, centers. So all dedicated to recreate the best environment so that we as providers can provide the care that the patient needs.
So like you're saying, you are kind of, become the family, friend, and loved one, because the visitors aren't allowed to come see the patients. So it's really important, I'm sure, for you to come in with good energy, even though you're going to be stressed and overworked and tired. How do you stay positive personally? What inspires you to keep going and to walk in there with, no matter what you're feeling, that brave face, because you are their loved one at that time.
100%, and that is one message that has been clear to all of us in the hospital, and has been one of the inspiring elements in our efforts in continuing to provide the best care that we can in these times of stress, when we're scared for our own safety as well, for our own health and our families. But having passed the curve a little bit, and finally being able to discharge patients, has become a source of gratification to us. So we have really put all of our efforts in trying to get our patients out of here. We do our best in trying to stay in contact, communicating with their families. We do FaceTime video conference calls so that families can see their patients. But you've seen some amazing camaraderie, some support system that have been created here within the osteo community. And I think probably throughout hospitals all across the country, we're united in this, and we have to stick together in order to overcome this. It's not a one-man job, you know.
Yeah.
So now that we see patients being discharged and we are understanding that we can manage this, has become very, very satisfying. And you often hear applause and clapping when you're finally seeing that patient that was for 14 days in the unit with a tube down their throat, now being taken, you know, discharged home. And that is a success of its own, and that is what inspires us. Truly.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned your family and everyone at the hospital, like not being so worried about also making their family sick because you guys are around so many patients. You know, how do you deal with that? With, you know, staying in touch with people that you love when I'm sure you're also just working so many hours.
It's tough. Fortunately, I have a very supportive and understanding wife that I go home to every day, and she is very loving and takes very good care of me and our two boys, to whom we've had to explain why they can't jump to daddy when I come home. So we've had to take this to our home and also be cautious at home. So what I try to do is continue to apply the measures of cautious use of protective gear. Mm-hmm. I do not bring any of my protective gear or my scrubs or any of my medical attire home. I leave all that in the hospital, and I bring a new set of shoes to my home. I mean, to that level of just trying to go home fresh with nothing that could potentially cross-contaminate. Mm-hmm. Once I go home, I take an immediate shower, and I'm sorry to talk about intimate.
No, it's good to know.
But it's
because I was even going to ask. I mean, just for me, I have all my questions written down, but sometimes in these conversations, I get a new question that I was never planning on asking. I talked about, you know, flattening the curve and other countries that seem to have been flattening the curve, and that, you know, even in LA, we're starting to see some progress. And you were just talking about that too. Because I think we just hear these terms all the time and in the news and on social media, flattening the curve. What does that exactly mean? And how do we do that? Is that something important for me? Like if I do have to go for my essential grocery shop, you know, every other week, do I leave my shoes outside the door? Like how do you flatten the curve? What can we do?
That's an excellent question, Miley. And I think that is where all of you outside of the hospital can help. We certainly don't want to have more patients come to the hospital if they can avoid it. We certainly want people to be able to take the message that's pretty clear: stay home, use protective gear. And that is the effort. That's the only effort that you need to do. We need to stop the spread of the disease. And even though many of us, up to 50% of us, can be asymptomatic, but not only that, carriers and potentially infect others, what we need to do is give this a halt for enough time so that the disease by itself can then finally come down. And that's what we're talking about, flattening the curve. Try to minimize the amount of new cases. Try to minimize the amount of hospital admissions. Try to minimize the amount of patients that need to be on a ventilator, and use of resources when it could all be somewhat managed and manipulated with human behavior, with prevention.
And I don't want to take up too much of your time, and you actually just totally answered one of my next questions, which is how do we support you? Which I guess how we support you is by doing what we're told is going to keep everyone safest and keep people out of the hospital. So you want us really taking our stay at home seriously, masks, gloves. But the question that I had just hearing you talk about this, so talking about like asymptomatic and carriers, that's why it's so important for everyone. Because when people go, oh, well, I'm young, or I'm healthy, or I feel good, I've been home, there's a way to be a carrier or to be asymptomatic where you can infect others and not know it. Is that what I'm understanding?
100%. And unfortunately, what happens is that then we distribute, or we basically infect the patients that are vulnerable, the patients that have cardiac risk factors. And in this, I mean high blood pressure, high cholesterol, they have coronary disease, they have heart failure, they have diabetes. These are the patients that we're seeing in the hospital, and these are the patients that are dying, Miley. Fortunately, fortunately for the people that are healthy, they can they're resilient, but their duty is to try to stop the spread of the disease. But also, I want to remind the people that these people that have had these coronary cardiovascular risk factors are all lifestyle modifiable. So should be a wake up call for all of us. We should be healthier.
Right.
We should eat healthier. We should do more exercise.
Yeah.
We should have better lifestyle habits overall that can decrease our risk to having cardiac diseases. But in terms of what you're saying and what you could do also is that I think that you continue to use protective gear. I'm seeing people saying I stayed at home for a month. Like, what the heck? I think that we just have to wait this off, until it cools down.
My dog is telling me to let you get back to work. I want to thank you so much I feel so much more educated just from this is amazing for me and for my followers and viewers to get to have this one-on-one conversation. Like you said, a lot of us do want to stay away from the hospital or from a doctor's office if we can avoid it, and give the patients that really need it the space so you guys can focus on who really needs it. So we're not having a lot of these conversations. We're not going for these moments where we can just talk to a doctor and get ourselves educated on what we can do. And I think what I've taken away from it the most from this conversation is just continuing to remember that people can be carriers, you can have no symptoms, and you can still hurt people that we love.
Correct. And I think I've heard many of the good things that you're doing. Keep on encouraging people to stay mindful, to care we have to care for each other, certainly. We're always going to be as weak as the weakest one of our population is.
Right.
The ones in disadvantage could ultimately get sick and then get us sick and the other end of the equation. So care for each other, care for the elder, donate food to whoever needs one. Ask your elder if they need for you to do groceries for them. If they are a home of several family members, pick one to do the groceries, and then just try to minimize the exposure time and try to be really careful when you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything that you do all the time, not just now, but especially right now. And thank you for being on Bright Minded. You're the man. Thank you, Dr. Oscar.
You're very welcome. And I'm looking forward to seeing one of your face masks. I would love to wear one in the hospital.
I actually painted, I will send you some pictures. I painted this weekend. I had gotten some of my masks. Jeremy Scott had an idea of repurposing some old scarves, turning them into masks so you could make more than one. So it's great. I made a Gucci one. I'm all about it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll see
Bye.
you.
That was amazing. The entire time I kept feeling like my eyes just started to water because you can just tell that these doctors and these healthcare workers are just like totally exhausting themselves and working so hard to keep us all safe and healthy. So just super, super inspiring. To talk to another amazing doctor, we're going to talk to Syra Madad. That's our next guest, Dr. Syra Madad, who is a nationally recognized leader in public health and special pathogen preparedness and response. She is the Senior Director for New York City Health and Hospitals Special Pathogens Program, and you may also recognize her from the 2020 Netflix docuseries Pandemic: How to Prevent an Outbreak. So in addition to being a badass public health leader, she's also a mom of 3 kids. She's been helping lead NYC's response to the pandemic, coordinating the efforts to expand capacity for COVID-19 patients, like working with local hotels to convert them for patients, for example. So this is an honor to connect to this next hero. So let's do it. It's a good thing that the show was over because my Instagram is starting to act crazy. Okay, so I hope you all were inspired by our guest today. I know that I've learned so much and I'm full of hope right now, knowing that there are people that we're surrounded with who are selfless and talented and smart and passionate and dedicated to making our communities better. And I know that there are so many people around us, friends, parents, neighbors, who are stepping up during this time and going above and beyond to help on the front lines or behind the scenes too. So that's what I want to hear from you, whether it's working as a nurse, a doctor, a teacher, in a grocery store, doing deliveries, organizing donations, sewing DIY masks, helping your neighbors. I want to know who is a hero to you and who you would like to highlight. So every day this week, I'm going to be starting the show, sharing some submissions. Share on Twitter, on Instagram, tag me, use the hashtag highlighting heroes. We all know someone who is a hero. And so I'm just excited to see who you send in, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Same time, same place, Bright Minded, live with Miley. See you then.